being eyed by so many other supervisors. You are praying, God, assuming this guy goes away. Maybe if he even dies, some people may go ahead and make such prayers. I'm the next in line. We should grow our faith to a level of being our own CEOs, because that is part of the agenda of this young corporates. You can become your own CEO, a CEO of your own entity, your own business. It's very, very possible. Most especially when we get the knowledge, we build our faith and believe that things can work out. Elder, there was something that you're explaining, and the question that you were linking to was when I asked you about being behind one of the oldest hardwares on Namgongo Road, that mentorship kind of arrangement. And you wanted to give us a few tips that are very, very instrumental in business.
Are we together? Are we refreshed? Hope what I'm sharing is going to be beneficial to at least one person. When I said that rentals is a business for, I said stupid man's business. If you don't have a lot of time to devote, are you a career person and you don't have time to supervise business, I would advise you go rentals. It doesn't need a lot. The returns are much, much smaller than ordinary business. But from my experience, it is like a salary. Now, like me, it's like I have a salary. Every month I'm sure of certain amount of money, whether I have sold or not, whether there is a strike in town or not, somehow, even in COVID. So I would recommend. I have a very nice example of rentals, and Sister Betty is seated there. But what I'm talking about in the dream, if you went and visited Betty and God, you can understand what I'm talking in their home. Okay? Now, the question that he has asked about, we have a hardware. Actually, I'm not very involved in that hardware. It's a family hardware. But I am their landlord. I'll borrow some of the success factors from elsewhere. But for that particular hardware, we have had very big hardwares on that road over the last 10 years. I think it is only the recent ones, but even the recent ones that are doing well, like Uganda Matters, what other hardware is on that road?
Uganda Matters there?
Yes. And our hardware is that the buildings belong to
the owners.
The building, they pay rent, but the buildings are ours. And that is one thing I advise, like, if you have some money and you can buy a commercial plot, buy it. And the good thing with Kampala, it doesn't depend where. We had a shop in Chireka and we transferred it to Chijabijo. Who knows where Chijabijo is? And the sales were 20 times as much in the village there than they were on Namugongo Road. Okay? But the point I want to draw is some businesses can only survive after they are shelved. There are certain factors that are helping them, especially, say, if the building is yours. If you start a retail shop, but you are starting it in a building that you have built in a trading center which belongs to you, the chances that it will survive is much higher. I know some of you, the businessmen, may not agree because mwemulina ekibalo kyammwe mweri ku Nasa Road mubala gira bwenti rent wa million 3, okay. So you quickly kibalo, But many of these other starting businesses, the fact that many businesses, when the landlord sees that you are doing well, that month he will increase the rent. So your rent goes unfairly increasing till a point when you begin working for the landlord. The profits you make are absorbed by rent. So I think that is one of the most important factors for that particular building, is that they have not suffered the pressure of being in a building where the market forces are at work. But the most important point I want to think is a success factor, has been a success factor for me, is something that we locally should be enjoying, all of us, and that is honesty. Business thrives on honesty. If you are not honest, bw'oba olimu obuyaaye tosuubula, genda olime, genda okole ebirala. You understand what I'm saying? Business thrives. Actually, it is Uganda that is unique, but in other countries, you only pay for the goods after they have been delivered and you have sold. If you are supplying to these big supermarkets, do you know how long they take to pay you? Some of them as long as 3 months. In essence, you are capitalizing. You, the supplier, capitalizes the business. So the business owner is actually managing credit. And that is very good when you watch the Indians, why they are taking up all the shops. All the Indians come when they are poor, but they relate with the other Indians who give them stock on credit. So when you go all up countries, the supermarkets are run by Chinese and Indians. The reason they are succeeding is that all the stock they get is on credit. Now when they get the stock on credit, they are honest. That is the biggest thing that is lacking among Ugandans, including balokole. Amen? Say amen. Kubanga njogera mazima. Abalokole baba banja. Ne mu kanisa muno tulinamu abantu abasobola otuwa sente. But they have given out money and burnt their fingers. You go to Y-Save, they are, P-Save, sorry, Betty, sorry, forgive me. You go to P-Save, you find lists of what? At the time I was in Zambia and I was seeing a list of, and people are okay. Your business. If you cannot pay loans, please don't do business. Because there is a saying that when you are doing business, use other people's money. Have you heard that thing? You use other people's what? Money. Many people who run these businesses, the stock doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the suppliers, but they are honest. They sell nebalyako enjawulo ne bakola ki? When I started the PAS business, I had 2 shops in town where I could go anytime and pick any machine without leaving a shilling. Glory Electronics on Cham Towers. If you ask that man my name, he doesn't know it. He calls me Musumba. You see the glory locally enjoy. In town I'm called Musumba. Another business was Lions down there in Chiseka, where I could walk in, ask, because when you are doing that business, at times you have got jobs and you don't have enough equipment. So you need people who can give you an amplifier. Na ye tulina obuzibu obw'amaanyi mu balokole. Bannaye bw'oba olina ebbanja ly'omuntu nga tolisasulanga ekyo genda nakyo okole ki? You know that what it comes with the, you know, if I went to him and I was borrowing money and I say now mnasamba mpayo ttaano nja kuziza ku Monday, then I don't, will he, when I need 2 million, will he give me again? No. Then unfortunately, if we are buying from a shop and you haven't paid, the temptation is to take the money if you want something badly to another shop. So you are not building this creditworthiness relationship with this person. Okay? The presence, that one I talked, that particular hardware has survived because 2 of us, my sisters, have devoted themselves to be there. Both of them have MBAs. One of them has an SCCA. But it was by choice and they are there. Many of us will start business and we are not there. She has a shop, she is involved in it. So presence is an important factor. If you are married, abafumbo muli wa gye muli? Mukwatagane nga mukola ebintu bino. Work as, you may not be doing the same things. I only go to her supermarket when I want a bottle of water and I pick, and I'm very poor at paying. So I pick water and I pick an apple. Then I remind her that, you know, when you were starting, I paid rent for 6 months and bought you a fridge. And so I always remind her. Then she said, Naiza gwa woda. Atesirabirira makago. Then I say, when I gave it to you, I thought it would be building. So I still believe I have an investment in. But we work together. I support her, she supports me. If you are like abasajja, ogenda okuba diruzo, dero okubye diru. Don't get offended when I speak in Luganda. And you know, some of these things are more understood in Luganda, except if you don't understand Luganda. Okubye diru, ofisi zaka akakadde. Akakadde ako, ekijinji kibeere business yani ya mukyala wo. Because these they are not always there. There are some dry spaces. For me, I'm a consultant. I make much more money than my wife. But there are some months when every morning I am very humble. Because I need kameza. You understand what I'm saying? We don't necessarily do the same business, but we support one another. That is a very important factor. Synergy, tuchita synergy mu Luzungu. The other issue is about tuteke Katonda mu bye tukola. Katonda has a special way of helping us. I wanted her to give a testimony. When we were starting the small shop, we had spent all our money in the building, so we didn't even have money to buy a band of matchboxes, or a carton. But she has a story. And remind them that I am always encouraging you.
I won't forget that. Praise the Lord. I want to thank the Lord because he has been in it, like he has said. When we are starting there at Namugongo, I'm going to be brief. We didn't have money. I didn't have capital. I had very little money. So the money I had, we put in some things in that retail shop. But it had empty spaces. The shelves were empty. Even when the brethren used to come from here, they would say, but we come to support you. But we don't see things. How can we support you when the shelves are empty? But one of the factors that has led to the success of that supermarket, first of all, it is God. I trusted God. We trusted God, and I trusted God. Even getting the name for the supermarket, for the retail by then, I prayed to God because I tried to play around with the names of my children, adding my name, what. It was not working. Then I went to God and said, God, I need a name for this retail. And he gave me the name Blessed. By that time, I hadn't even noticed that there are so many shops with the name Blessed. So he gave me the name Blessed. Even now, when you go to Chikubo, where I do my shopping, they call me Mama Blessed, Auntie Blessed, and I'm keeping on getting blessed. So when we started there with little capital, I didn't have a fridge. My sister-in-law gave me an old fridge. Then I was waiting on this privilege, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They gave me their fridge, but they wanted it full with Coca-Cola, and yet I had little capital. So they would come and say, now you have to give us 500, and we fill the fridge. They took the big one that they had given me because I didn't have money, and they gave me a small one. So I was surviving like that. But then we had tenants, and one of them, she had the money on the account. Then she told me, but you know what? I have some money, but I'm going to give you, but my husband doesn't know. Of course, for them, they were not saved. So she told me, I'm going to give you this money, but I want you to use it. You give it back to me after a particular time. He was talking about when the husband has paid. So he gave me that money. I used that money to put in things in the supermarket. And for sure, I paid it on dot. We also had the Chirops, Pastor Chirop and wife, they had a shop in Chireka. So they really supported us when we were starting. They would give us things, and we would sell and give them the money. Credit worthiness. They gave us things, I would sell and take back the money. I had four people giving me their money because they had it on the account. They were not using it. You may even be here. You have that money on your account. You are just keeping it there. And then if you are trustworthy, somebody can give you that money. For me, I had 4 times people giving me their money. There was my sister-in-law who told me, I have some money on my account. Why don't you use it? She gave it to me. I bought things, and I would fill up that retail. Then, like he has said, he has been in it. He advised me, we do shopping there. There's a certain shop in Chireka. Why don't we go and talk to them? It's a wholesale shop. And we talk to them. In fact, he initiated that talk with the owner of the shop. He told him, now you see, you can give us these things, and then we pay the money after a week. And they agreed. So up to now, they are giving us things. They started by giving me things worth 500,000. But because they saw my credit worthiness, up now, they give me things worth 1,500,000. And I pay that money after 7 days. So they give me, so when we come on Sunday, we come, we pray. That is why sometimes we go for first service. Because we know when we come, we have to go to Chireka. So whenever I come on Sunday, I have to pay that money, and then I get things. So when you come to Chijabijo, you say, we have things, but you know that money, I've just got those things, I'm going to work, and then pay back the money. So credit worthiness is very, very important. I've been able to pay back that money in time. Praying is very important in business. Tithe is very important. He keeps on advising me. So I would ask him, now how do I pay that tithe? Now that I'm in business, he would ask, what is your profit? What? And then he advises me, now I think you weekly pay this amount of money. And every week, when he comes looking for me, giving me the envelope of tithe, I'm tithing for that shop. Every week I have to bring God's tithe. I don't eat it. I say, this money is not mine. So I tithe. We pray. I started off with 1 worker. Now I have 2. I have a system in the supermarket. By the time I was here, it was so small. The shelves were half empty. But now when you come, you'll be amazed. I think Muhumuza needs to come and do some recording there, and we show you here. It is now a big supermarket. Okay, it's not so big, but compared to what we had here, now I have 2 girls working there. I have a camera. I have fridges. And people come. The suppliers want to give me fridges. I say, no, don't give me fridges because I don't want that pressure. Ice cream comes, Lato comes. They want to give me, but I say, no, I have enough. The shop is now like this. But it's because of unity with him. He advises me. He comes in and says, no, let's do this. Let's put in solar. Let's do this. So it is unity being there. Usually I'm there every Saturday. I purpose. Whenever I'm involved in research, sometimes I'm not there. But when I come back every evening, I go to that shop and we close around 9. But some days I'm not able to go. But Saturday, even the workers know it's my day to be there. It's either me or one of my children. So every Saturday it is us to work. So if you are starting a business and you are going to leave it to the other members, you are not involved, my dear. You have to be there, talk to the customers, and you advise and do what. So every Saturday I have to work in that shop. So I give that business a day in a week. At least I'm supposed to be there. That is presence. You be there, and also the workers know you know what to do. I'm involved. I go to the Chikubo and really hustle. All my children know how to hustle. All of them, even the boy. We started with him. The other time I was testifying, I said, please involve the children. Mine, we all go there and work in the Chikubo. We carry, we hustle. They all know how to do it. So I'll stop there.
Let's clap for her. This is a very good experience. The hustle. If Mommy Mabel is telling you that you have to hustle, then what excuse will you have, Shane, not to hustle? So, but again, very important, Elder and Mommy, the issue of honesty. Really, honesty is, there is a saying that you can never have a second chance to create the first impression. Personally, I have that experience of trading honesty and trust. I happen to be an agent of one of the publishers in Ghana. In fact, I'm an agent of one of the leading publishing companies in Ghana here. It so happens that they have a novel on the literature syllabus of Uganda. So they never had a representative here in Uganda, and yet that book had been rolled out to be on the syllabus for the next 5 years. So they gave me stock. They printed for me 60,000 copies that are valued to over 900 million. Wow. And for the next 5 years, up to 2025, I'm in charge of that project. But on a monthly basis, when you're reporting to someone who is in Ghana, you can choose to cheat. Or run away. Or change your name. Or probably that. But you can imagine if I was to be buying from them, because I'm in charge of that book, wherever you find it in bookshops and schools, it is my company that has put it there. But if I was to have maybe a contract with them whereby I'm buying, I would not have managed. So it's very, very important for us to look at trust. And like Elder said, we have a good card, a good of us being Christians and born again. We need to use it, to trade on that, and you can get cheap money, cheap credit. Some people have the money, like you've said. They have the money on accounts, they're looking for people. Church. Probably in this church, and even out there. But among us, if you have the money on the account, bring it. I'll certainly pay it back. Elder, lastly, I think, there are two things. Unless the audience has a few questions to ask, we shall give them a chance. But people would want to, tell us some of the opportunities that you're seeing being wasted in this time and era. Because, of course, you have moved a number of steps ahead, but there's some things you look at and like, assuming I was in my 30s or 20s, I think this would be something good. I would want you to share with us some of those opportunities. Then the other one is, you really wanted to share with us the lessons, key lessons that we need to take home. Those key lessons. I think that will wrap it up, and I'll be welcoming questions from the audience. You can either write or be ready to ask when the chance comes. Thank you.
Yes, I normally try to be very practical. I don't want to build stock of skyscrapers in the sky, or castles in the sky, but the opportunities around, and I want to urge Christians. I did some piggery. The day I would take my pigs to the slaughterhouse, I would feel very frustrated. Very, very frustrated, because they cheat. So you see somebody going off with the head, he wants to take it free, the legs, then they cut this area of the breasts. As they cut, they are cutting off the meat. So they skim the pig. By the time they are calculating, you imagine it is like a tenth of what you have invested. But the Mosei Bujirwas are doing a piggery, and I think that is a very good opportunity. They share that, on the weekend we are slaughtering what? Pig. Now, there is a weakness we have among the Balokole. And that one we must fight. We must imitate the Jews. I'm told the Jews, before money leaves them, it has to go over like 17 times. If a Jew has to buy a shoe and the Jewish shop is not open, he will not buy. I would rather eat a lesser quality meal when I know the money has gone to Wamaungo. You understand what I'm saying? Rather than eating a very sumptuous meal at very what, and we have given the money to somebody else. As locally, the disadvantage we have is we are cut out from many networks. We don't drink, we don't socialize through drinking and many other things. So ultimately the most important network we have is the church. But in this church, by the way, if you are a very good businessman, there's a big market here. But by the way, we don't know what people do. Some of you are struggling to sell suits. But nobody in this church knows that you sell suits. You understand what I'm saying? Shaine, maybe Shaine, we know he makes cakes, but the others we don't know. What are you doing? So I think there are many opportunities. The lesson I learned in business, why my businesses, those that failed, I have already shared. We, the people who are educated, have big minds. If you have worked in a big job, that is even a very big disadvantage. We like to maintain that life. So when we are doing our businesses, it's not about the business. It's about trying to maintain our standard of living. And life is not like that. You have lost a job. You've been being given 5 million every month. But in the reality is the job is no longer there. So instead of driving a car every day to town, even the people who use taxis get to town, not so. So it's about adjusting. Then let us leave the businesses grow naturally. This one I learned in the PS system because the PS system needs machines. All types of machines. Every time the guys are saying, if we had this, Muzei, sound you get money, you buy. The things remain the same. So there was always a temptation because I was funding the business from elsewhere. So I ended up with a lot of equipment, but I could not recoup the money. Yet there was a possibility of me letting the business grow naturally. You do a deal, then you go to, after all I had credit. I get credit, an amplifier, 4 million, I do like 7 jobs, the amplifier is mine. Okay? So, the opportunities are many. But like somebody advised, there was something that was circulating on TikTok, which came here, that if you want to do business, you must provide a service. There were 2 things I've forgotten, the second thing. What is the service gap? Even if it means you look at the people here, you say when they come to church, their cars are dirty. Why don't I start a car washing business? I just talk to the pastor. So that when the people are here, the 2 hours they are here, 10 cars are washed outside there. You understand what I'm saying? That is the service. Fun enough, you'll even see people who don't come to service bringing their cars. There is water, free water down there, by the way, if you didn't know. You don't have to pay water bills. I wanted to use a few minutes to just share 10. Some of these things I have already talked about. So I rushed through them because I took some time to reflect. And just, if you bear with me. Are we still together? I know this talk, I don't normally talk about these things because when you talk about them, especially to people who are comfortable, they don't want this talk. But when they get into problems, then they do what? You have lost a job, now you are coming to me to help you. For the last 10 years you have been working. Imagine if you had started something, you would not be this vulnerable. Now, by the time you come to me to help, you are again, the demands are too much, I can't help. Say that church, the elders, they are bogus. They don't help us when we are in what? Problems. How many of us have worked for 5 years? How many have worked for 10? How many have worked for 15? Now, one thing I learned in life, when I joined this church, when we are still up there, we had many people falling out of jobs then. One time we counted 50 plus people who didn't have jobs. And then you notice somebody, and then we are very open. When you lost a job, it was a testimony. You came and said, "Now their project has closed, pray for me." When you got a job, it was a testimony. So we are looking at people's lives. So you see somebody struggle 6 months, no job. Then the testimony comes, "But now I have got a 3-year contract." The first thing they do, I have observed in Deliverance Church here, the first thing, the children have to change schools. Many of them start going to international schools. I don't have anything bad about international schools. But you have been languishing. Then God gives you an opportunity. The second thing, somebody has been struggling with is IPSAM. It can even take him to Mbala and back. The moment the job comes, hurry. You understand what I'm saying? So this man, Robert Kiyosaki, says that an increment in salary, by the way, never helps people. They still remain as vulnerable as they were. You look at these science teachers, many of them are going to remain as vulnerable as they are even when their salaries have been what? Because what happens for the poor and the middle class, let's assume we are the middle class, when you increase their income, they change their lifestyles. Actually, at times they even become a bit more indebted when they get higher salaries than when they were before. So I want to reflect on 10 issues. The first issue is the element of independence. Why are we working? Why are you working? Ask yourself. If I were to live my life again, and I'm not a thief, and I'm not a flamboyant career person, the reason I would be working would be to accumulate capital, to start up something, to improve on my welfare. So it is not a debate whether you should be doing something on top of your job. It's not debatable. Unless you are Jennifer Musisi, but even Jennifer Musisi used to proud in her making cakes. Not so. She was tent making. Okay? That is point number 1. But that point, can I illustrate something? Where are the markers? Our livelihoods are normally divided into 4. Can everybody see? This quadrant is developed by somebody called Robert Kiyosaki. Please, one thing I forgot to share was that when I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, some of you don't want to read that book. Every Mulokole should read, especially the first one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That is, apart from the Bible, that is the book that has influenced me most. So, okay, you heard me. But do we have a better marker? These things, please bear with me a few minutes. There are certain things I want to explain. So how do we earn our livelihoods? One way is employment. Employment. Marker. Do we have another marker? Enoteja kumalako. So, And the bulk of us seek for employment to do what? To survive. The second area, I'm going to use abbreviations because I'm very poor at writing, is self-employment. Okay? This is employment. You are working for a bank or as a teacher, you are in a school. The other alternative is self-employment. But you can be a teacher, but you also have a market stall. Or you are a doctor working in a Mulago, but you also have a clinic. Because a clinic is, self-employment is really close to your job because you are selling the expertise you have. Okay? Then the third one is business. Let me just use B. Okay? So, employment, self-employment, business, investment. Okay? Those are normally the 4 ways we make money. Okay? The bulk of the people, and what we are coming to fight against in this session is to, when you measure yourself, I want an example. Let me, Simon, Moko, you come up. I want to ask you a question. This is employment. Are you employed? This is self-employment. This is business. Business is doing like a retail shop or whatever business. Then I is investment. Investment is like in real estate. Investment is like in bonds. I have never done those bond things. I don't understand them. But there are people who are making a lot of money. I don't know if it is a lot. But I hear they make money. So, but like the Bazungus, if the Bazungus don't have to struggle to make businesses, because for them they have a developed capital market. So they can make their savings, put the money in Microsoft, and Microsoft does the business for them. Okay? That is investment. So, Musumba, a good person should be employed or should be getting money along these areas. And this is not to call you to embarrass you, but to learn. Okay, let us start from investment. Do you have investments? As of now, not yet. So, for your incomes, none is coming from what? Investments. Do you have a business? You've started. We have a business. Okay, you've started something small. Self-employment? You could do like a private consultancy or what? Add to your worker salary, the little one we give you here.
Now I work here as a spiritual matter, so there is no consultancy yet. There is
Okay. Okay. So, in essence, Uncle Simon, and this is for learning. I don't fear to speak about him because he's my muko. I gave him my daughter. If he gets offended, I pull away my daughter. That's why I'm using him as an example. Okay, you can go and sit. So, each of you, have you drawn this? Now start putting percentages. Look at your monthly income. How much of it comes from your job? How much of it comes from the other self-employment you do? How much of it comes from business? How much of it is coming from investment? You get what I'm saying? So a smart person, because when we are beginning, now like me, I cannot be like Simon. Because I was employed for 20 years. That is why when I am struggling, I can't come before here and say, please, you people, things are bad, I don't have a job. Because I worked for 20 years. You people, let us give thanks where thanks is due. If you have worked for 10, 15 years, don't come to the church here and tell us you can't pay school fees. You listen to me very seriously. If I will be there, I will shout at you and say, you man, you wasted your years. The reason why we employed should be to help us move into, get money, incomes, so that we go there, or we go there. Self-employment is almost like a job, and it is more done by people who have very specialized professions like doctors, accountants. But for us who did the BS, if you don't scratch your head, who knows you? There are no skills. Actually, the only skills that have helped me is what I learned on my job. I can do a project proposal for you and I get money, okay? For our colleagues like doctors, that is why they are longer in employment. A doctor is always employable till many, many years. But not all of us are doctors. Teachers, You understand what I'm saying? So, the reason why we should be employed is to accumulate money, to do business, and to do investment. Investment, in essence, is where you input your money and you get returns without you laboring so much to work. Is that okay? Muchitegede. Kakati, there is nobody, unless that person is a thief, or he is totally resigned. No one is going to give you a salary that meets your needs. And no one has an obligation to give you to meet your needs. We are not a social welfare state. And where if you are ruled by Africans who are very selfish, they don't even care about you. If your kids are eating or not, it is your business. It was Kato who was saying it is not government business. So often we are working at jobs and we are very disgruntled. These people are cheating us. These people give us very little money. These people are what? That is your choice. Have you heard? It is your choice to be earning very little money. Don't get offended. I'm telling you the truth. It is your choice. When you are doing strikes and what, to get a better salary, no one will pay you a good salary. It's not there. It's not there. Okay? Except for the other class, the flamboyant one. And you will not meet them complaining. They are not there. They are at the top, flying business class, first class, staying in 5-star hotels. If you are like that, what I'm saying makes no sense. Okay? So it is not an excuse for you not to be doing something else. If you don't need the money, but there are people who don't need this money. I've watched, especially women. There are some women who have money on their accounts. Even when she's getting a small salary, but for them, they know how to keep. Some of them don't need the money. But if you don't need the money, the church needs the money. We are building, Pastor. Did you hear him appeal? Okay, at least make the money and bring it to church and let us do ministry. So there is no excuse even for those who say, I have enough. But I'm just giving you words of wisdom. Okay? Number 2. So that is one. Number 2 is the other concept I said. This is just a practice for those who are earning. Sister Sarah, Datema. How much do you earn? Don't tell us. But you can say that because we need the money. If you don't need the money, we need it here in these baskets. But you can say, I want to compete with my salary. Start competing with what? Your salary, if the boss is not increasing your salary, you increase yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Increase your earnings by doing something else. So I normally advise young career people that you compete with your salary. If you are doing $1 million, must you earn $1 million? You know how long they take to increase the salary? It can take like 5 years. So you will be earning that $1 million for the next 5 years. But you can say this year, let me do this business. I already gave that example. Maybe I don't need to labor on that. We understood it. Number 3, I want to explain to you the difference between the poor and the rich. You tell your neighbor the difference between the poor and the rich. Now the poor are of 2 types. There is the poor, these ones who are really poor. There is a poor who is like a highly paid slave. Not being a slave, but they pay you better off than the others because you have a job in a certain organization. You understand what I'm saying? So when we are talking of these things, we normally don't split the two. We say the poor and the middle class. We are talking middle class, not middle class, poor and the working class. They are in the same category. So the difference between the poor and the working class and those that are growing rich is this. If a poor person or a worker wants to make money, what do they do? What do? You who are employed, what takes you to your jobs? What are you paid for? What are you paid for? When you get your salary, they are paying for what? For services. For your expertise. For your time. So a poor person and a working person, when they want to earn, they sell their labor. They sell their intellect. They sell their time. That is why when you don't go to work, some employers say you didn't work last week, I'm not paying you. Are they wrong? No. Okay? So for a poor man or a worker to get money, he has to sell his labor. He has to physically participate in the process of working. Okay? Do you know Gulf Coast? What is that? Acacia Road. Have you passed there like at 9 in the morning? What do you see? You see fat-bellied men praying. What? Golf. At what time? At 9. Do you think they are not earning? They are earning. But rich people don't work for their money. You understand? Rich people send their assets, and I want to dwell on the word assets, to make money for them. So a rich man will wake up at 10, but his kamunye has already reached Busia by 7. You understand? The buses are picking people. The borders are already working. So there is a difference between the two. So there is what Robert Kiyosaki calls the cash flow quadrant. But let me just use the word cash flow. And I want to show you how we poor differ from the rich. This thing has four boxes. This one is called incomes. What is the opposite of incomes? Expenditures. Expenditures. So we all have incomes. Incomes like what? Like rent, food. It is incomes is salary. We saw the other quadrant of the 4 areas where are you active. Do you have a business? Are you having investments? Or are you just depending on your salary? If you are depending on your salary alone, Jemuli, if you are depending, okay, you may have started working yesterday. There you are, it is okay. But if you have worked for 5 years, and you are my son-in-law and you are depending on your salary alone, I would threaten to withdraw my daughter. You understand what I'm saying? Because unless you are a flamboyant career worker, you're already doomed. Okay? So we have this quadrant called the expenses. When we get incomes, we spend. Okay? Is there another marker of another color? Okay. No, you mean this can still work. Then we have another column here called assets. Assets. This one is now not working. Is my outside there? I had like, is it? Ngendo gym markers, mulimu markers. Okay, you have the roof. They are all faint. No, they are markers in my car. Because I'm a teacher. Chasing poverty out of the church. So these are assets. And these are, I don't know if I will explain it well. Who can read this? Liabilities. Okay? Now, we earn, we spend. These liabilities, but let me start with what is a liability? What is a liability? Clap for Mr. Mwaule. Anything that takes money out of you is a liability. Are we together? Okay, but we are going to even understand it better. What is an asset? The opposite of a liability. Now in the accounting says, Betty is saying, because in accounts we say an asset is what? Anything of value. So if you have bought your car, or you bought a photocopier which isn't even not working, faulty, you take it to be an asset. Now in the true business sense, anything that takes money away from your pocket is a liability. Okay? Some of you braggers, I have my assets. I even have a Harrier. Does that Harrier earn money for you? Does it? Extra. How much money has it made? You are the wrong person. And you you have a car. How much money has your car made for you in the last month? You do shuttle. So you are using it for business. It's a very smart lady. Okay? But what I want, and these are things we need the Barukule to understand. Some of us are building pompous homes. We are now beginning to see how big our house is when the kids are going away. Okay? We don't need some of those houses. Some of us are spending fortunes building houses, buying very expensive cars. By the way, Ipsam, if you are going to Mbali, it also arrives there. Not so? And by the way, I used to stay in Masaka, and I used to marvel. How comes these big cars are not finishing the journey? Yet for me, my old car would go to Masaka and come back. You understand what I'm saying? So many of us are tempted to invest in liabilities. I was telling you that I have loans. I've taken like 8 loans in the last 10 years. But all my loans are for business. I don't get a loan to buy a luxury. I buy for mortgage to build a house and I earn rent, or trucks to get money. What are your liabilities for? Some of us are borrowing money to go and build a home. A home doesn't make money. How much money? Oinamaka, wazimba. Also, how much money do you get from your home? It is a liability. So there are certain things we call assets, but in essence they are liabilities. As long as they are not making money, they are liabilities. So an asset is only that item you have that wakes up very early in the morning and goes to look money for you. Okay? Now, how do the rich become rich? Okay? You ask your neighbor, how do the rich become rich? I'm going to tell you. The rich have only one trick. They concentrate on building their assets. Okay? The more if you bought Kamunyeze 3, you have 2 forwards. You have 10 borders. You have 5 rentals. Each of those wakes up to give you money. So what happens? Your incomes do what? Start growing. Now, the rich, when we see the rich buy a Benz, it is different from when Shine buys a Benz. Shine, for example, ayinza okuba kadiruke. Oba askidde ettaka n'alitunda n'agula Benz. That's all these working class and poor people driving Benzes have either sold land or gone for a loan. Okay? You understand? The way Sudiru buys a Benz is not the way you buy a Benz. Sudiru, after this one has grown, you know, each time these incomes grow, they surpass the expenses. Whether you are rich or poor, I don't think you can eat more than 3 meals a day. You understand what I'm saying? Even Sudiru eats 3 meals. Some of us even eat better than him. Okay? So the more incomes you get, the more they surpass your expenses. But now here you can afford to buy luxuries legitimately, even in a way that makes God happy. Okay? You understand? I'm taking a bit more time on this because it's the most important thing. So once your incomes are big, then you can surpass your expenses and also reduce your liabilities. Now let me show you how a cash flow of a poor person looks like and working class. It looks like this. Income what? Big or small? Income, small. Expenses, big. These markers are also. Expenses, big. Assets, small. Assets for working class. Liabilities, big. Even when you are going for Kwanjula, you want to borrow. You understand what I'm saying? This is how a cash flow for a poor person, a working person, looks like. They earn, but often their expenditures are more than their incomes. This forces them to go for debt, which increases their liability, which even forces them to encroach on the little assets they have. That's why if you're a land dealer, they are always selling land to you. They are depleting their money maker. The money maker is what? Assets. Okay? Do I now need to draw a cash flow for a rich person? I don't. It's obvious. The asset column is big. So that the point I'm trying to say is concentrate on your asset column. Do everything to build your asset. Instead of buying a car, maybe it is more better. Maybe it is better to buy a plot. You can buy a plot at 10 million, and in 2 years it is 15 million. These are true stories. I bought a plot recently, 26. I sold it at 42. I say, hey, by the way, people can make money in land. Eh? I wish I had money and time. So, where are you concentrating your investments? Are you concentrating them in liabilities? Eh? If you can understand this, come back to me. So that when you understand and you become rich, I will benefit. Zokungulira ka TX n'ogaba nange. Omusajja ono yannyonnyola ekintu ne kikyusa obulamu bwange. Musumba ebisumuluzo bibino bimukwase. Amina. Okitegedde? This, but you can read that book. Abantu tebakaagala akatabo ako. There are 2 books. One is called the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Another one is called The Richest Man of Babylon, in Babylon. Read those 2 books, especially those you people who are young. So that by the time you are our age, Musumba tajja wano n'agamba njagala miliyoni 7 kukola floor. Ogiraba? Mwe mubeere generation eri different. Okay? Tuleme kuwoza ate abo simanyi Banyankole, simanyi Museveni, ebyo kati tubiveeko tugende tukole. This is what helps you grow rich, whether you are Munyankole or not. You understand? Where are my specs? The rest I'm going to run through quickly. How many points have I intersected? Those are 3, if you are not. 4, cost cutting. Getting rich is about doing 2 things. Either you make the money or you cut costs. How do we cut costs? Are you renting a house of 1 million? I was reminding my wife. My first job, they were giving me some little money to buy a house. But I even left it because I'd bought a plot in Masaka and quickly patched a house. And the moment we put in windows, no plaster, we entered. Okay? Our house. Eh? There are people. Nanje businajiyingira nkyabula mu tayirozi. Batayiro. Nagenze wali wenalaba zenjagala teziriiwo nkyalinda bazireete. There are people like that. God creates people. Katonda yetondera abantu, but for me I'm not like that. So me and my wife and family have entered unfinished houses and saved the money we would have paid for rent. Growing food. Even when you have a chikumi kwatano, there are certain foods you can grow sukuma wiki and what and save a lot of money. You go to supermarkets. When I want to laugh, I go to the supermarket. And you see somebody, bw'aba atambuza embaliga bw'ati omanya nti yakulira mu kyalo ate wala. Naye ng'agenze eggula ffene. Agenze eggula ffene mu ki? Supermarket. Those things happen. There are people. God creates people. I used to have a friend who used to come to bread. He used to come from Masaka to buy his bread in Kampala. And I want to tell you, he's not well off. You say, for me, I eat brown bread. Which was right. It is healthy to eat brown bread. And I think it wasn't there in Masaka. Kampala, cost. So, let us cut costs. Ebintu ebimu bye twesibako ng'ate tonnaba bulungi. I was talking to my wife and I was saying, although we haven't realized, but we are much richer since we went to Kijabijo. And she was asking why. I said, before we left, could we buy the fuel we use? 50-50, 150, almost on a daily what? We have not even calculated the money we use on fuel. If you can't make the money, then save it. That's a simple principle. Okay? That is, I think, principle number what? Number 4. Principle number 5. And I have been a very what? I don't have many shoes. By the way, if you are careful, you can count how many shoes I have. They are not many. They are not. Why do I need 10 pairs of shoes? By the way, some people even never notice you have changed your shoes. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe women. Women, you buy your shoes, katonda yabatonda bwatyo. Naye serious man. You have 10 pairs of shoes to do what? Kakao olina mmeka? Ntono. Kubanga sente oyo ye mutegeera business akola ki? Agitegeerera mwana naye mirundi mingi. Ngane sese mukadde sinza kwata ku busente obwo. Ye capital. Ye capital ye asset ye. Kwamogolako buli lwamogola mukyala kakaawo kitegede. Buli lwamogola wano ku asset. Ye nga atakola. Kikendeeza income ziki. So kyovola abantu oluusi abo abalimu olusuubuzi bakaluba abalwawo okuzimba enju. Oluusi abeera awo nga musajja alina ssente naye lwaki avuga akamotoka akakadde. Lwaki talina mmotoka? Ku ssente z'alina. Ssente ze asset ye. Zaatuma ne zimukolera ki? Ekya cost cutting kimaze. Ekya wealth creation. Wealth creation is where I wanted to bring in the loans. The loans are bad. Actually, I admire some people. There are some people I work with and they struggle in many things financially. Then when I am the lead, so I'm very, like when we haven't finished work, I hesitate to ask for money. So naye gwe lwakuba oli bulungi. Tusaba sente nene tunasaba tutya sente ngumbi mtegunagwa. Agwe saba busabi, Gwoli bulungi. I tell him, but you, the money I pay in loan repayment is bigger than your income. So you can't say, gwolina ebizimbe, olina emmotoka, olina kirabikola sente. That is a weak way of doing what? Understanding. Let us create wealth. Wealth is that the assets that are there to keep making money for you. So that the day they lay you off, we should not have orphans because they laid you off. People die. I'm not joking. I know people who have died when they are laid off. But if you have been creating your wealth, when these shocks come, you have a fallback position. Actually, the most satisfied employee you will ever find is that employee that has income outside the salary. They work, they are relaxed, they are not stressed. They put in more hours. They are more motivated because they are not depending on the salary alone. Okay? Then as we are there, they batawongeza tetujja kukola. Yakola mulimu gwa jjajjaawo. So wealth creation. Personally, I have used my bank to create wealth. I want to give one example. Mondeke, spending a little time, but because I want poverty out of the church. During COVID, we were not working. Even consultancies were few. But I have my collateral. You understand what we call collateral? I have some property, like you do. Mwena mulina poloti muzimbi amayumba gali awo gatunulanga muntu. But you are not obtaining any value out of them. So 2 years ago, I decided to have a lorry. How much money did I have to buy the lorry? You guess. The lorry, I bought the first lorry at 95 million. How much money did I have? How much? 50. Omulala. 40. Abachitegeera. I had zero money. Naye mulabe bwe ngenda okugaggawala bw'otuuka ekijabijjo. Baga oli omusajja wa loole. I had nothing. All I had was collateral. So I go to the bank and borrow 70 million shillings. Okay? I take it to the bond and I see a good lorry and I pay 60 million. I used the 10 to help me. So I remained with a debt of how much? 35 million. So the first thing the lorry did was to make 35 million for me. And it did. Every month I was getting money, and the lorry paid itself out of the bond. You understand what I'm saying? So from having no lorry, I have a lorry. When you take it to Betty, she will calculate and say, but you didn't buy that lorry 90. I think you have bought that lorry 150, which is okay. Because if you go for a loan, loans are expensive in Uganda. Then once I had finished paying the bond, and they gave me the card, now I concentrated on reducing the loan in the bank. And the lorry is making money. It has been making money till about 3 months ago when the economy went. You understand what that is now creating wealth. I didn't have a lorry. I now have 2. How much money did I have? 0. Now my trick is that if God can help me keep these lorries and I can pay the loans, now like the first one, if I didn't have disturbances, it would have no loan. Now that is mine. Even if you value it like at 50 million, now that is my money. I didn't have it. Bane mutegera chingamba. Tezaaliwo naye kati nzirina kati nina lole nga atete yaliwo. That is what we call wealth creation. Kati sikugamba nti genda mu banka kubanga oyinza okubanga tobisobola. But are you in a circle? Museveni buli akayana agenda abubuza, do you have a circle? So I'm also asking you, do you have a circle? I think it is responsible, cutting out the workers here at our church. You create a circle. Don't eat all your money. I know it is very little money. I wish I could increase it, but we don't have it. You are the ones who collect the offerings, not so sad. It is not there. Ochidaba, maybe we should give you 3 times, but it's not there. But that little you have, you get. It is a crime against nature to eat 100% of your salary. Have you got that? This farmer doesn't eat the seed. That is where we get this concept of seed money. Our grandfathers, long time ago, even when they were ape-like looking, learned the secret of keeping a seed. So, bw'ofuna emitwalo 10, gyako omutwalo gumu gw'otakwatako. Oba olina boxi nga ya kyuma, gyokye osuule omwo. Till when you will get a business idea, you will break that box, you will discover that you have 800,000. Awo totandika mudaala. So wealth creation, bino bye tusaba bannange tubiveeko ebyo ebyokwagala ssente ezo ezivaawa. Tulekeraawo kulebeta gavumenti ne Katonda. Ssente Mukama agamba nti ndiwa omukisa emirimu gy'emikono gyammwe. I will bless the works of your hand. That is where true wealth comes from. You look at these people eating government money. You look at them. Even the musicians, look at the musicians. Those who got Simanyi a car, 700 million. And yet these ones who didn't get, you able to survive. I think there is a curse that comes with that free money. Abalokole twegendereze. Ekamera ekutte sikitya. Tunoonye ssente tugende tutuyane muntu oyo mutujja ssente zaffe. That is wealth that your kids will find. Okay? I'm finishing. Simazeeyo. Ekirala. The other principle we have used, I've talked about wealth creation. Credit. She talked about credit. I've talked about bank credit. She has talked about these small credits. We have a wholesale in Chireka. Every week, they give us free goods. 7 days, we have an opportunity to use the money, the goods. Then we accumulate, then we pay. At first, we used to struggle. Now we don't. Credit. Credit is not only from banks. Actually, the best credit is from our friends and relatives. Naye lwakuba tetusasula akantu akukyuka ewa neighbor naye abalokole tebasasula mabanja. Have you heard that? Because that is the credit. It doesn't have interest. The money your brother, sister will give you doesn't have what? Credit. Okay? Phase your lives. This is another important principle I want us to learn. You are young people. Why do you want to drive a Benz when Elder Rose hasn't yet driven it? Yeah, you answer that question. Nasa, ekikuvuza Benz nga nze sinnagivuga ki? Ejo si mikisa. Ero kati by the way ebintu ebyo ntandise okubigaana. Mwe mutunuulire bano abavubuka abaweereza, many of them are gospel singers. Abawoza bampadde Benzi, bampadde mpenkoni. You will soon discover they have 2 wives. They are in fornication. What is the connection between the two? You understand? So for me, if I have a choice for me to do business and God blesses my work and I go to the shop to Avamuna and buy a Benz, I prefer that one to one given to me by the powers that be. Muntegede, even if it means that I will drive it at 80 years, kale yeribe yange, naye sigenda kuvuga zino. Kubanga abazivuze tetubalaba mu mikisa. So tufeezinga obulamu bwaffe. Ekikuzimbya oguyumba, 6-bedroom house when you are 27 years. With the rolling gate, obereri ne banyiga suite, cameras everyone. Okay, if you are flamboyant or a thief, it is okay. Oba wekubidde kadiruko sente za COVID genda okole. But if you are a believer, struggling and working, let us face our lives. And I want to give an example. When we moved from Masaka, we needed a home. But the resources we had, we could not afford to build a home. Because in my concept, a home, you know I'm a Muganda. Omusajja Omuganda. Don't get too offense. Omusajja Omuganda bw'azimba amaka gaba maka. Gateeka okubaako olujja. You know olujja, courtyard. A big one. When I'm there are some bananas I can cut, say banana leaves, ndizi, there are mangoes. At that time, I could not afford. At this time, maybe you can't afford such a home. So, if you have a 50 by 100 plot, by the way, how many of us have homes on a 50 by 100? I used to have one. On Saturday, you can't even exercise. The kids don't have where to ride bicycles. You are redundant. Yet you should have a home where you wake up when you don't go to work and say, let me go and cut my bananas. You treat like 15 plants. Mutegera chengamba. So let us face our lives. Let us meet the needs we want now while planning for the future. Do you understand? For us to be successful at some point, one of the couples, one of the spouses may have to leave the job to supervise family businesses. Because the biggest failure, because of failure for family business is the lack of supervision. So why are you investing 100 million and you are still working for a salary of 1 million? You understand what I'm saying? So at a certain point, one of you can say, you choose. At times, the lady is the one careerly gifted. Jennifer Musisi, Dorothy Chisaka type. If my wife is that type, yagende yomukesisiye. Achikube, sente arete, zensengeje. You understand what I'm saying? So you choose between the two of you. Now that requires phasing. You may say like the first 10 years of our lives, let us both work because we need the home and we need the money. Eh? The next 10 years, now we are focusing on building our family business. But we need the supervisor, manager. Don't do things. One man, I think it is Sekalala, says, if you are not in a business, the chances that 90% it will collapse. Of course, we need to learn to build systems. Oh? Are we still together? I'm finishing. Maliriza bannange. So face your life. Face the things you are doing. Don't build a 6-bedroomed house when you still have 2 children. For what? And when the children grow, they are going to leave you. I have a family relative. They have built a very big house and they built it late in life. Very big. Then when you go there, when they hope the camera is not on. Conrad. So you enter Conrad's bedroom. They are not hearing me. It is as big as this. There is a bathroom. There is what? As I talk, none of the children is at home. They have left to go and hire simple houses and live a normal life. So why are you building that good house? For who? You understand what I'm saying? If I were to live my life again, I would start by building rentals. Because if I have my girlfriend, my wife, and my 2 kids, by the way, life is sweet. When you are still small, I visited Shiner's home. No, is it Shiner's? Yes, I was a Shiner's. There is love in the house the moment you enter it. Things are still small. And we have to go through that phase of life. Do you know why these rich people divorce when they have just married? Don't go with rich people. Don't, Brenda, ogusajja ogugaga tegukutwala. Will not, for me, I will come to the wedding, but I will not be happy. I would rather see Brenda go with a humble brother who they are going to work with and grow rich. So, now that you don't, the first thing is jump out of renting. But you may not have the means to build a whole house. So you can do it in bits. And you are not, that is not your home. Because your home should be a bigger what? But in the meantime, instead of squeezing the whole house in that water and you are pouring the water into the neighbor's compound, do 4 compartments, stay in 1. You can even face them. God knows. You can build these houses in phases. You build unit 1, you leave some timbers protruding. When God blesses you, you build unit 2. When the family is big, you can even add the 2 units, you are still there. Unit 3, you shine vawali jango jirobera 1. Then shikongolo, you also, you are getting man of them, out of them. Then when you develop, so you can phase your development. And that one we have done. Then businesses, this one I have also already start. The issue is to start. Start. If you are not starting, we shall report you to the pastor here. Some men are very slow at starting. Some have very big ideas. I have a friend, I guess, I've not seen him for the last 10 years. But if I go and find him Nemoboza Wazimbe and he has built, I would give him 1 million shillings. But I'm sure he hasn't built. Because of the way his visual, Galanzimbe, Kisenge, Nkole kitanda nga kya round. Nga bwenyiga breakfast, nga kigira bwe. You know those people God created like that. Oluusi abo tebakola. Bw'ajja n'atunulira akayumba kazimbya naye God buno obuyumba ogenda kubugyamu sente mmeka buno. Banyumba. You'll ignore those. But start. Failing is no more. Ennume ekula bigwo. Abaganda bagamba nti ennume ekola ki? Ekula bigwo. When you do a project and you lose money, you bought a boda and steal it. That is the lesson. That is a certificate of attendance. Okay? Bagamba success comes out of repeated failure. The person who invented this bulb, what did it the 1,000th time. But if he had given up, he would never. So start something. Failing, risk averseness, one of the problems with education. Actually, for me, if there was a school that uneducates people, I would be the first one to register. And I go and remove some of these things they put in our heads. You go to Chikubo, kati the people you work with on Nasa Street, basoma. Era bosanga abasoma era they have adjusted. They have left the towers and come down to the street. And they think in real terms. For us, because we have a master's, and we are risk averse. How much will I earn this little money? Because you compare with your salary in the UN, but you have a contract will come to an end, and you will come back on earth, down where all of us are. So start. Please start. Go and do something. Try it out. Till God will give you opportunity to do what? Invest in familiar ground. This one, if you read like the richest man of Babylon, it speaks very well about it. There is a friend of mine, but this thing is bad. At times you backbite people, but this is the right example. Who lost a job, and I told him, for you to start, I know it is painful, but you start, the skills you have are those you have learned when you have been working. Mister, what do you do? What is your work? You are? Now you are working in the power sector. If you started a business and you moved it in the power sector line, it is more likely to succeed. First of all, you are within the network. But now if you started doing furniture, you don't even know how to cost a chair. So I would advise, let us start with the familiar areas. We can expand later when we have learned to do the different what. But there is a tendency in Africans, we despise especially what our fathers did. And yet some of our fathers were very rich in their generation. They were making banana, mwenge bigere. Some of them distilling waraj. Of course, we are locally now, we don't do that. But I'm telling you, when you go to your village, the rich men in the village, what are they doing? They are doing those normal what? Things that we despise. When you go home, you discover the man has bought a new drone. But for you to buy a drone, you have to go to the bank like me. But the man from his mwenge bigere, cassava, what? It's enough money to buy. So let us also start with it. Now, Pastor Nyonga, you did a degree in agriculture. Build on that. Some of us have struggled rearing pigs, chicken. We don't even know how to identify coccidiosis or Newcastle. But you know. Yeah, build on that. Mala. Work with your spouse and children. That one, my wife has already labored on it. That unity, there is that thing that comes with working together. As a family. You may not be doing the same exact business. Naye bwe muba mukolagana. Bintu bya ebituuko olinayo emitwalo 3. You understand? And let us, our children, let's involve our children. She gave a testimony of how we have worked with our children. Then last but not least, let us work in partnership with God. God has called us. We are not ordinary people. Tetuli bantu baki ba bulijjo. And I think we need to start using this pulpit to speak about that a lot. Because the biggest problem with the balokole is to think that they are like the other people. You understand what I'm saying? It is not accidental. Wherever we are and whatever we are doing, it is not accidental. God is in it. So you are doing business, you are doing what? Let us involve God. And let us learn to get proceeds. I was telling Uncle God that, Kamalidiza, one time I resigned from my job. But I was on the church leadership in Masaka. And you know those days, we people who worked for those NGOs, we were the people in the church, the visible ones. So I had another couple for them, they were better off than us. So when it came to building the church, for us who were a bit weaker, we took the width, like the lower part there. For them, they were stronger, they took this side. Then we did the house cells to share the pillars. The church is small, it's not like this. So when I resigned from my job, I would go and look at that wall, it was incomplete. And pray to God that, God, now, me and you, we are going to get embarrassed. I no longer have a job, but I need one. I made a pledge to complete this wall, and I will touch the wall. In 2 months, I had a job, a better job, paying twice as much, with better conditions. In our businesses, if we were God, even you imagine if we were God, and there is a brother who does business, but when he gets his money, he removes some and comes and puts on that building. Who would you bless? Yes, it's natural. So that is the most important factor. I've brought it last, but it is the most important factor. Thank you for listening to me. I'm not the richest man. Not even in this church. There are people here who have many things more than me. But when we walk in town and we meet some of our colleagues who went on and who are still employed, they surprise us. Say, but now, how have you survived? Now we also want to come and also start. But they are still doing what? Which means that there is an aspect that we have gained which they haven't gained. And that is what I want to emphasize. That sense of financial independence. To lose a job should not be an issue. You should come and tell the pastor, Munai project here with you, but you continue paying school fees for your what? Your children. I think that is the little thing I think I have seen in my life. And for me to leave my job, I decided to boldly come out and confront a fear that I used to have. When I was employed, the biggest fear I used to have was being laid off. You understand? And I know it is disturbing many people. Each time in NGOs, there are always meetings. USAID has cut funding, a war in Ukraine, we're closing this project. So if you are not in the senior management, there is a lot of stress on you. So I took a decision and I said, I'm still young. But one time, kanjogere kano kubanga kakulu. One time, I was, by the way, for me, I've been a very local from the very beginning. So even when I worked for World Vision, I was a really local guy. When other people were doing other things, some of us, we valued the Christian values. So one time, the management came up with a decision to transfer, to shuffle managers. Now for me, I was at this project that I was just beginning to enjoy in my second year. They gave it to me when it was very problematic. I struggled. Now when I was beginning to enjoy, and I was doing masters, they did their reshuffle as if they were casting these Mweso things. So the HR came and visited. And one guy asked him, but Mr. HR manager, these issues of just transferring managers even without consulting them, don't you think it is not okay? These were the words of the what? The HR. He said, It is not true that we do not. He spoke sarcastically. He's a friend of mine, by the way, so I don't take offense. But he spoke sarcastically. And he said, it is not true that we shuffle managers without consulting them. But when we think that you have to move, we will call you and tell you, and you make a choice. Either to go, or the door is there. And that thing, I felt like my heart melted. God can, son of Emrokole, suffer this. And I made the decision that day. I was doing a master's sponsored by the organization. The day my master's ends is when I'm leaving that organization. And immediately after 1 year, I left. I didn't have a job. But I was so annoyed I couldn't take that nonsense anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So I want to encourage us. Courage, but nice. Wake up. Do something. Try out something. The next time I will come here, I will talk about the 2080 theory. So that you know that for you to succeed, you will fail 8 times. But the 2 times you will succeed enough. Many of us, when you have failed after 3 times, you say, I even feel the Holy Spirit saying this.
Let's give him a hand of applause. We have really taken time, but I believe it is worth it. Elder, I strongly believe it's worth it. You've reminded me of that book of Robert Kiyosaki, and there is something in particular that I never understood, that quadrant that you've explained. When I was reading that book, I didn't understand it well, and I thank you for the fact that you've really explained it. I think we need to get back to practice really. Elder, you've given us such a big challenge. We talked about supporting our own businesses as a church, and I would want to introduce some gentleman here. I think he has one of the best salons around. Julius, let him stand up. Yes, Julius is a banker, but he has started up a business at Rema Supermarket. There is a saloon before you reach Rema Supermarket, but on that, maybe you can speak out. It's a very good salon. I go to it, and I think my wife also goes to that salon.
Good evening, church. I thank God for this opportunity, and I would like to thank the Elder Martin Ruse for giving us this wisdom. To me, I take it as an investment. People out there go and pay for it, but I believe none of us has paid for this. I thank you for that investment, and I'm sure it's going to give us. Concerning the salon business, I thank God. The last 6 months, I joined with a colleague of mine, and we started up a salon. Does both. It's a unisex salon. It's located in Namugongo, just before Rema Supermarket. And I would like to thank Mr. Kakumba and the family. These are the guys that we started with, and they have stood with us. So I call everyone, please come and support us. Thank you. It's called OJ's Salon. Yeah.
Thank you. It's really a very good salon. I'm sorry I had to advertise this because we talked about supporting each other. Elder, I thank you so much. I thank the Young Corporates team. I don't know whether there are some questions in there. Are there any questions? 1 or 2? Just 1 or 2, and we'll wind up this. Please.
I say Mr. Moderator, I don't know. William Kakawa by names. By the way, thank you, Elder Rose and our mama. I'm really so blessed. It is you you've equipped me from the slumber I've been in, somehow, somewhere. In fact, for me, I think this thing is what I've heard. It is bigger than what I've been expecting. So we shouldn't overtake it younger corporates. Because I think everyone needs this. Instead of calling it younger corporates. Hallelujah. Over I'm a bit lost, I don't know. But that is my view. So many people need this, not only young corporates. Mukama yeebazibwa abooluganda olwerwereka lwenjogera. Mbadde nsaba next time tukigezeeko okusinga ku young corporates. Instead of some people they can say, one day I had my brother, this man of my friend is called Ismail Gondi Atwanjiri. He told me, I'm not a young guy, so I don't belong there. Ambrose, by the way, or your sister, Mukama yeebazibwe. Young, for me, I think I'm not. Mukama yeebazibwa abooluganda. Neze mbadde nsaba next time over. Munsonyiwe abakiralanga corporate. I'm not sikinyooma. Nendooza kiyinza okuba tukyetaaga n'omu n'atunda ennyaanya oba bwe mba mbuze munansonyiwa. Mukama yeebazibwe munampabula bwe mba njogedde bubi. Kuba nze ndabye nsaba tumukubire engalo ez'amaanyi. Ne mama, thanks for your time. Because people, they pay a lot of money to get such ideas. Nze mbadde nga I've been operating nina William Kakawa ndi business supplying a stationery. I do corporate wares, ne printing work. Naye njagala okugamba there is a way mbadde ntya nnyo oluusi ogenda mu loan. One day nayagalako okusaba loan, I was having some scarcity in my business nga njagala million nga 11. Naye kyamalamu amaanyi bwe nagamba bank okumpasira nga tujja kuwayo million 6. Nengamba ndaba tebijja kunnyamba nempulira nga I've given up. Kuba njagala 11 ate bampa 6. Yeebazibwe, yes, but I have to look for the loan. Era my wife tuteeka okulya loan guno omwaka ogujja tubeeko kye twekolera. Your business not for gundi. That nini. Mukama yeebazibwe. Not for that nini. Mukama yeebazibwe abooluganda. Yeah, we have to go. Why? Nkanyoka katono nnyo. Nino client wange omu gwe nkolera. That guy challenges me so much. Some time back, over 2 weeks back, over 3 weeks, they had some kind of a celebration. Bakola, they have been celebrating, they have made $1 million. Buli mwana agenda nga mwayi alina Forex Bureau right now, yawezezza Forex Bureau branches 10. Alina pharmacies 5. Naye neebaza Mukama nange ampa ku ssente n'endyako. Ampa emirimu. So, negaayo talina business n'emu erina lunaku lweggalawo. Even if it is a Christmas, even if it is a Sunday. In the other words, talina weekend you will find his business is closed. Italuze kyabadde agambaawo, these people, they invest money, so money they can work for them. They don't look for money. Money, the one is sente zikola ki? Zizibanoonya. Ayina ennyumba ekyanja. Lumu yantwala nagenda yoko. Mukama ayina sente, is a younger guy. Yeebazibwe Yesu abooluganda. Naye omusajja olwo oluusi embeera naye mpulira nga omutwe gwange nga mbula there is something which is missing. Yeebazibwe Yesu abooluganda. We should wake up balokole. Kambagambe na kino okufuna obugagga tekuva mu kusaba nnyo. It is mindset. It is mindset. Go weefuula omwavu oba omugagga. Nze William Senga mbabula ekibiina kye nnakomamu. Mukyala wange oluusi ngana okubyogera ennyo ebyo. Yeebazibwe Yesu abooluganda. Naye ekisinga okuba it is your mindset. It is your mindset, not just to praying so much. Bino ebintu bikola bulala abooluganda. Mukama bampeera omukisa.
Hello. I want to thank the speaker, Mr. Luze, who has shared I've learned quite a lot. I'm not in formal employment, but I'm in the private sector. I've been there for the last 10 years, and I have a lot of lessons I've learned in business, and I'm still learning. One of the things I've learned today is phasing life, living life in phases. I have 3 children, and it's not easy if you're earning from business. Sometimes you find you spend a lot of money on expenses. The quadrants you drew there, some of us were seeing them as they are really something. Because you earn little, you find you're living in a house, your rent costs exceed $1 million shillings every month, and that chews into your capital. And sometimes even getting a loan is a problem, even from the banks. So I want to thank you so much for what you've done. You've spoken quite on a number of topics. We pray that God blesses you, and when He gives you opportunity, when we invite you for the marrieds and the men in the men's conference, please honor us and you come and give us this kind of wisdom. Maybe to ask something like there are couples, of course, there are those who are intending to marry. Which advice would you give them to look for spouses who are in the business or those who are in the formal sector? Because it can become quite challenging for those who are having to-do lists. Talking from a point of experience, from experience, I'm sharing this from a point of experience because my wife is a former worker. I'm in the business sector. So there are some challenges you get when it comes to decision making, especially on investments, when the other person doesn't see the vision you're seeing. I don't know if you're told it makes sense. Thank you.
That's a very tough one. Very, very tough. But I think it's all about education. Many of us think the way we think. Like I told you, I wasted my first 10 years because I felt that I had hit the what? Work in a very powerful international NGO. It is difficult to choose a wife and look at those factors. But let me turn it to myself. If I were to live my life again, and God asked me, okay, I would still ask Him, let me go to Makerere and do a degree. But if He were to ask me to give me a prosperous career life and to give me wisdom to do business and be self-employed and be a successful one, I would choose the latter. I would go to Chikubo. And I think that is one of the things I'm struggling now. I have been doing very nice consultancy work. It has helped me for the last 10 years. But these days I get a small job and I struggle. Actually, I changed my prayer. I said, God, I want money, but I'm tired of this money, where I have to work like a donkey. You understand what I'm saying? But I think for all of us, the issue is the education. And we want these business people, we want to hear your story. So that we can change people's mindsets. The people who drive the best cars on those roads are not working in UEB or whatever. They are working in Chikubo and these people doing business. The people those who are not thieves. Many of the things we admire are done by thieves. But those who are doing things and they are not thieves, they are businessmen. And they have not stolen government money. So, I think this is a very nice initiative. And I want to urge, like the young corporates, everybody should have something they are doing. There are very few jobs in Uganda. That is a fact. Even if you prayed and the Holy Spirit came and sat on this table. The reality is that there are very few jobs. compared to the graduates looking for the jobs. You understand? And it will take time. Even if government were to create jobs, it takes it time to create jobs. So you have been educated by your parent. What can you, at least you sell kabalagala. We find you with your basket of kabalagala. Because you're educated, there is a way you will change the packaging and what. You can go to the good offices, dress well and say, I have my sweet pancakes. And it will make a difference. So I have not answered your question, Peter. But I think let us educate, even if it is your spouse. They have not had the opportunity to understand the world in its real sense. Okay.
I think this will be our last question, Elder. This one asks, Elder, I would like to know the exact consultancy service that you offer. That's question number one. Question number two, how do you market yourself as a consultant in that particular area of expertise? Question number three, before you started the business you run, did you first pray and God showed you, or you just started? What you thought could bring money? Is that a hard one?
Yeah, that's hard. But let's start with, I worked for NGOs as a development worker and as a humanitarian worker. So when I did consultancies, my consultancies are around program work, designing projects, doing evaluations, baselines, capacity building, doing strategic plans. That's the type of work I have done for the last 12 years. About 80% of it has been with the refugee programming, because Uganda hosts the largest number of refugees in the world. So a lot of money is in those refugee places. The second one, my partners are not born again. And when you come and sit in our office, you may be a bit stumbled. I also have to lower a bit. My standard. Somebody can want to play his Zaire music. I will not say because I'm locally, I'm moving out of the office. I've learned to deal with them, and they have been good partners. I've worked with them for over 10 years. But I think, and I was telling them, they don't understand these things, but I was telling them that you people, there are certain things I do that I think have helped us succeed. Because for me, when I get part of this money, I will take to the church. And God gives. But of course, at times it is difficult to explain the things people who are not born again. But when we do consultancy, some consultancy comes as a group work, so we do it as a company. Some consultancy comes as individual. I do it as Frederick Luzi. And in the last 3 years, I have done a lot of the individual type of work. Do I market myself? Not even on the internet, and that is a weakness. But the best marketing tool is to do quality work. The moment, and I like Bazungus for it, the moment you work for a Muzungu and he is happy with what you have done, you are sure he will connect you to 2 or 3 more assignments. So I have gotten my jobs in a very miraculous way. I attribute it to the fact that when I get it, especially the dollars, those ones I don't compromise. The Uganda shillings at times, it disappears somewhere. But the dollar, I first remove the tithe. And I bring it slightly, so quietly to Sarah. So I get jobs in a miraculous way. I can't even explain it. I'm now signing a contract where I'm going to be a trainer in Rwanda. But I've been working with that firm with many other people. But they just wrote to me and said, are you interested? We have lost a trainer we want to, can replace. Now the last one is a very difficult question. And that is the challenge I've had. Many times when the businesses fail, I say maybe I didn't ask God. Now, like for the lorries, for sure I did not ask God. God did not tell me that go into lorry business. And now that is where we have a dilemma with the Pentecostal locally. The decisions you make to do a particular business should be based on the feasibility. I know maybe the Holy Spirit is also has competences in business things. I don't know. But what I do, like for my lorries, I pray. And I pray God, because if that lorry has an accident, my friend, I'm finished. And somehow, God has been faithful. The little tithe I get, I give somewhere. It may not come to this church. Some businesses, I have local pastors. I give a monthly tithe on some of the property. And I feel God connects with my business in such a way. There is a brother. We preached to him, he got saved, and we enjoyed fellowship with him. But he was advancing an experience, and I looked at him and I would admire, but say, God, nekatondo sosola. Because that brother, for him, he would tell us that even when he's wearing clothes, he would ask of the Lord, God, which shirt should I put on? You understand? And we have many Pentecostal people who are like that. But for sure, with all these issues in the world, people are dying in Ukraine, where God has time to choose a shirt for you, put on tomorrow. So I think that is going overboard. In business, I think it is important to seek God's guidance. But at times, when I was marrying this lady, I wanted a voice. There were some issues, and I wanted a voice to come from God physically to say, marry her. And it did not come. And I eventually did my own assessment. And I'm now happily married 29 years ago. So some of these things, the Pentecostals, we have some issues at times. We want to use God like his dizzy Rubale, these witch doctors in the village, where you go and now you show me. The man does throw things. Now tomorrow don't go to town. God doesn't work like that. I want to assume. I don't know if I've answered the question. But people have had testimonies. There are people who God has guided into their business choices, and they are doing well. But what I want us to protect ourselves is to make God an excuse. To make people are saying, do something. Your wife is saying, let us do this. You are saying, we. There's a time we were building a church in Masaka. And we had a very kind brother who even drew the plan. And when he brought the plan, the group of intercessors said, for us, God is showing us a cathedral with a double-storied. And the church split over that. We who were in the leadership thought we needed a church. We were less than 200 people, maybe 500 people. Then the intercessors were saying they were seeing a storied building, Simani, flamboyant, whatever. And there was the confusion in the church. But the other brother, God gave him wisdom. So he came and said, okay, this thing we are going to build now is no longer the church. But we thank God he has given us an expanse of land. So you people who saw the other vision, we are dividing the land. That church you will build down there, but allow us to start this building, and we'll call it a children's hall. Isn't that wisdom? And as I speak today, about 20 years, that is the church.
Thank you so much, Elder. I think we've exhausted the questions. But again, we so much appreciate such a powerful presentation. I guess you can see the audience hasn't changed much or even changed. People have been attentively listening. I can attest to this. This has been very, very, very beneficial. My two bosses at least are around. Shine is around, and Brenda. They have, I think they will answer the cry of Mr. Kakawa. I believe this should be expanded much more, not to be limited to the young corporates, because I was also wondering whether I'm a young corporate. So I think they are there. Brenda is there. Shine is there. I think the chairperson has left. I think they'll look into this, because really, going forward, I think we need to make sure that we tap into the wider, either the wider church or offer in the way of making sure that we bring other people who may really need this knowledge. This has been very powerful, Elder, and we thank you in a very special way. Let's appreciate him. Also, let's appreciate the organizers, Brenda, Shine, and a mightier hand clap for God who has really used them. We thank you, and we appreciate God for the fact that you're celebrating 29 years in marriage again. We pray that you celebrate many, many, many more years. Thank you, and thank you. I think one of my bosses should come and lead a closing prayer. Shine.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nessa. Let us stand up. Yeah, also want to take this opportunity to appreciate our elder for accepting